So me and a good buddy of mine, a little joke in our friendship is we like to just kind of jokingly threaten each other, and that's just we don't mean any of it, and we also we're pretty vague about it. We just kind of let each other know that something's gonna happen, and something I kind of recently started doing is mentioning their birthday, July 15th, and just I'll see an ominous picture and just send it to them and be like July 15th. And then the other day, at the time of recording yesterday or 2 days ago, Insomniac, who makes the Spider-Man games, tweeted 129 days left till October 20th, the release of the game. But I just saw that and I was like, oh, this could be a funny opportunity to send a thing. So my plan was to find out whatever days 129 days before their birthday, July 15th, and then go like me on blah 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 day. So then when I Googled what day is 129 days before their birthday, I found out it's my birthday.
I thought you were gonna say.
And it's so weird because it's not even like we're a specific amount of months from the movie or the game. I mean, that's October 20th. It's not even June 20th yet. So they just felt like tweeting 120, 20, or 129, and that's the distance between our birthdays.
Didn't know.
So, fun little story.
There's 104 days in summer vacation. School comes along just
Standard. The problem.
generation is finding a good way to say like
Maybe
building a
fighting a mommy, climbing up the Eiffel Tower. Da 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 da. I reach something that doesn't exist. Hey,
or giving a monkey a shower.
Surfing tidal wave, create something of
Frankenstein. It's over here.
It's a good verb impression.
Thanks.
Hey Phineas, I know what we're gonna build today. Let's say hi at the same time. Okay.
I don't trust you.
Just do it. 3,
Okay.
2, I'm counting down to 3 on go, we'll say hi.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hi.
You hesitated.
Because you say it.
I'm teaching you to take initiative.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Kaboom. So, yeah. This episode we'll be continuing our Supermassive spotlight and talking about Radiant Black issues 13 through 24, alongside the 5 issues of Radiant Red, alongside the other 5 issues of Radiant Pink. So we'll talk about those books, but just to start off, let's talk about what we've been reading. So what have you been reading, Shay?
I don't read books. I experience them. I read Walt Simonson's Thor. I'm going through Thor as my main book.
Mm-hmm.
So I read Walt Simonson's Thor because that's like the famous one, the big first important one, the Frank Miller Daredevil of Thor, I suppose. It was
Okay.
fine. I like when he was a frog. I like Beta Ray
Really
Bill. And Christy Shield, the colorist of
Oh yeah.
is on there of
Our
Daredevil and
queen.
such. Yeah. The goat. Then after that I went on to Jamichael Straczynski's
Mm-hmm.
run on that was like 2007. That one I liked a lot. I liked the art a lot. It was like 16 issues, very good. And I read like 2 Beta Ray Bill miniseries as well that are alright. And then I'll continue Thor. I don't know exactly what I'm reading next, but I'll continue. Then I've read like more Iron Fist stuff because I kind of really like Iron Fist now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Immortal Iron Fist I read, and some of that stuff reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's my favorite show,
Yeah.
my favorite thing, and he's really cool and fun, and he's got like fists and stuff. Hawkeye.
That's it. I guess you're still reading that.
Yeah, I got 4 issues left.
Okay.
Then a bunch of Massiveverse.
Yeah.
Who would
So
have thunk?
you have more reading time than me, so I haven't read as much, but I've been catching up on all my Massiveverse stuff. So I just finished that, so we're doing episode 2. Then I'd also just been doing a big Spider-Man 2099 reread since the omnibus just came out. So that's I just finished all that first initial run. Then recently I decided after reading the current Fantastic Four run by North and Fiorelli that I got to issue 7, which is legacy number 700, and it was very cool and featured Doctor Doom. And then I was like, oh, I really like this guy. Like, he's really cool. And I had seen him make tiny appearances in other books, but that was my first time really just getting a full Doctor Doom story, and I really liked it. So I was like, I want to see more about this guy. So I decided I'd try to start reading Fantastic Four, and I've been reading the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff, and I like it a lot. It's definitely also it's like infinitely better than the Stan Lee Daredevil stuff I've read. So because that's really the only I've read a couple issues of like Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's Amazing Spider-Man stuff, but his Daredevil is really the only like main thing that I'd read a lot of. I read all his Daredevil, but so I didn't have too high expectations, but I'm really liking it. And Jack Kirby is great. You can tell just from the art that he really understands these characters, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. I've also been Shay, you and me have been talking. I've been having a little bit of a fantastic freak out.
Crisis.
Yeah. Just wondering what I should like, how much I'm gonna read and stuff, because I'm following a reading order, and it's at least around 500 issues. So then I was doing the math, and I was like, well, that's just just eyeballing it. If I'm doing one a day, that's like a year and a half. So that's a lot. So then 2 in a day, that's less. So At first I was going back and forth, but now a realization I'd come to yesterday. Because at first I was thinking, well, do I really want to read 500 issues of this one thing, this one book? But then yesterday, the realization I had was like, well, yeah, it's 500 issues of this one title, but it's also 500 issues of four of Marvel's most classic characters. It's like
A lot
I
of them
think
are
it's
also Doctor Doom, so that's another one you can add.
yeah. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, I'm gonna be continuing my Fantastic Four redoing, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far.
So we got Radiant Pink, Radiant Red, and Radiant Black. We're gonna start with Radiant Pink, cause I think that's the one we both have the least amount of thoughts towards. Not that it's bad, but at least for me,
Yeah,
I don't have many thoughts for it.
yeah,
Uh,
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah,
It's nice. It's more fun, whimsical. That's about what I expected with this character. Um, yeah,
yeah. I thought it was just like a fun, just little adventure with Radiant Pink. I think it is a very funny book. I like audibly laughed at this a couple times.
yeah.
And the way you know that you succeeded as a comic creator is if you get me to take a picture of like a certain moment and send it to my friends who don't read comics, and I was doing that a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's fun. I really like Eva. I think she's great and cool.
Yeah.
And I think just the whole concept of her as a character is like super person, but they also stream. Um, it's stuff like that is iffy, but I think it turns out real well.
Yeah, you could easily, and we already saw this in Radiant Black, but you could very
Yeah,
easily just kind of seem old and not in the know if you're writing something having to do with like streaming or YouTube or the internet or stuff. But they do seem to know what they're talking about.
yeah, and also um, in typical just massive verse fashion, but especially with the books that contain Radiant Pink, the art and the layouts go off. The colors are great. But yeah, just I love some of these layouts. They're cool and they're crazy and they're fun.
Yeah.
And I like them a lot. It's also a gay book. That's why I got this. I think this is actually Inferno Girl Red is the first Massive book that I fully read, but this is I think it might be the first one that I purchased, just because I every week I go to the comic store with a sibling of mine, and they'd mention just like actually I heard I don't even know if it was about Massiverse or Radiant Black or Radiant Pink specifically. It was like I heard it's gay, and I was like, huh? So then I looked in the I went to Radiant Pink, and it was the cover of issue 2, and it's Radiant Pink making out with a girl, well about to make out or about a kiss, but so I was like, okay, cool. I like yeah, fun.
It's a gay old time, you could say.
Yeah, yeah, I love this. I love too that like on a couple of the pages, a lot of the pages on the issues, the background, like behind the panels, it is just like a radiant pink.
Yeah.
They do like that slow,
A
like
radiant pink.
yeah. Actually forgot that radiant didn't mean gradient, so
Yeah.
thanks for saying that. but yeah, just a very fun, cute adventure. And I love the places that Eva's powers take her. Those giant cats, those giant little
Yeah.
aliens that she's just too excited to get close to, and I relate to her.
Yeah. It's no um Was it issue 10 of Radiant Black where they go to existence?
Yeah.
It's not anything crazy like that, but it's just there's like a pixely world or
Yeah.
dimension or whatever. There's like there's the cat world. There's a bunch of little places.
Yeah. This is just a very great. Just like it's fun. It's fun. And that's all that's all it has to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this one. Definitely just like a good jumping on point if you just want to check out one of the books.
Yeah, because it's like
So
completely not attached to
yeah,
any of them. Like at least, I mean, that's really all the Massverse books, I
yeah,
guess. So that's the fun of it.
yep.
Um,
But yeah, fun book. I like it.
I like, that I wasn't too sure at first with like I thought the pacing with the relationship between Eva and what's her face? What's her name?
I don't know.
The other girl that they go to the worlds
Yeah.
together and stuff. I thought at first I thought they're just gonna be like all like perfect and happy, but by the end it's like it's not like that, and the other girl is like seems kind of almost like abusive towards Eva, and they handle that pretty well, I think. Just like at first, like the pacing of the relationship was
Yeah.
going like pretty fast, but like that doesn't matter too much just because it got quicker to the point of what they want
Yeah.
to
And
tell
also,
us. So it's fine.
I think it works for Eva because she just got out of a relationship, so she's
Yeah,
looking. And then with the other girl, she's a little evil,
it's a little manipulative.
so it works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then she also gets her extra superpowers from the big existence robot. She got like wings.
Yeah.
We don't really see it for very long, but she has them.
Wait, I just also noticed if you go to issue 4, they recreate the Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah,
cover.
yeah.
Okay. So with Radiant Red, first thing I gotta say right off the bat, and this isn't I'm saying it right off the bat. I'm gonna keep saying it anyways. The art, I love it. I love the
Yeah.
art. It's so good.
Yeah, it's got like a gay Picasso. I like it. No.
I look at this and I go,
Michelangelo?
Michelangelo?
well, he did statues though, right? Did he paint?
No, he did the ceilings of the Sistine Chapel with the David touching
Oh,
God's.
okay.
Raphael did statues. I don't
I
know
thought-
what Donatello did. I don't really know who that was.
I think he's the one that likes science.
No, that was Da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci.
I don't know.
Leonardo da Vinci did the Mona Lisa, and then like that's insane. Leonardo da Vinci is like the kind of like the most important person ever. Actually, now you think about it, like the most famous piece of art probably ever, or just painting, and then enormous advances in technology and human health anatomy and science. Like that's whoa.
I honestly didn't know any of that. I just said Donatello likes science because I was making a Ninja Turtles joke.
Yeah, well, because in the Vulture, like his design, it's supposed to look like his like drawings
Oh,
of his schematics for
nice.
stuff, and like showing the human anatomy. Like he did, you know, like the drawing of the guy, and it's like this like the three
Uh-huh.
he did everything. It's Leonardo da Vinci the GOAT, like real big influence to me.
Yeah, for me it's like Frank Miller, Jack Kirby, Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love the art. David LaFuente, amazing. It's just it's so alive. The paneling is great. And yeah, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, but I
yeah.
just had to get it off, get it out right now.
Everything's got of sort of like hexagonal, hexagon, hexagon,
I think you were
hexagon,
right with hexagonal.
hexagonal,
Hexagonal.
hexagonal. But it's all like, especially like the joints for like characters' designs and stuff, or just like the kind of lines for their like tendons or their like cheeks or whatever. Like that's the standout. It's like the character design.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
all
definitely. Yeah,
they're all like a bit like almost toy like a bit
yeah,
plastic, but like not in a kiddie way. Like it's very unique, while being
yeah,
like still pretty, just like, you know, normal kind of realistic looking, but like very distinct
yeah.
style. That's great, and especially I think the coloring. I
Mm-hmm.
love having like the different kind of outlines for all the characters being a different color, kind of depending on their motion. Kind of like how Igor Monti does the outlines, the borders,
Mm-hmm.
panel borders, meaning like a different emotion depending. They just kind of do it around the character a lot
Yeah,
of time. Or like when we first see Shift, character Shift, like who's uh kind of like main supervillain for a lot of stuff. Not like supervillain, but like sort of bad guy. And he's got a green costume, and so there's like a green line outline, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't even immediately know that it's him, but then you get the hint.
Yeah.
It's
It's
cool.
great to like. I don't even, I don't. For me at least, I can't even like fully examine like what the emotions are always from the color, but sometimes they even give you other stuff other than emotions. Like even on the first issue, there's a scene where Satomi is walking to a house, and Satomi is outlined in yellow, and it's the exact same yellow that the house's windows are. So it kind of lets you know that's where she's going. I know you can like tell from her looking at it, but I guess otherwise you might assume maybe she's looking at her house before leaving or something. It's like
Yeah,
no, she's going to that house,
yeah,
and stuff like that's cool. Um, and yeah, I really like it.
yeah. And you know, the Satomi and Radiant Red was already a standout character,
Uh huh.
mainly from the sixth issue, which was like her origin, or for in Radiant Blackbeard, her origin.
The paperback actually puts that issue first. They keep
Oh
it
yeah,
with
it
that.
does. Yeah. Um, and they delivered on making
Yeah.
her extremely interesting too.
And once again, already gotta say, as I'm just flipping through this first issue, the art is so good. Even like the characters' like facial expressions just so perfectly give off the vibe of like just what they're feeling, and like I don't know, it feels like animated in a sense of just like there's such clear motion, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and like a lot of the time, especially with Satomi as a character, is very kind of has to fake her emotions, especially around her
Hmm.
family,
Yeah.
and like when she first goes to their house, or not their house, like her sister's house and stuff, and she has a sort of awkward face. Just a lot of great expressions for when somebody's stressed. That's a big part of Satomi as a character, is the anxiety,
Yeah.
the stuff, sort of. Yeah. Now, for like the main sort of overarching theme, to me, seemed like independence, sort of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, with there's the clear parallels between like Satomi's husband, Owen, who kind of chose to ruin both of their their joint financial situation with his gambling. Um, and then Satomi going to work for a shift, and these are people to do some bank robbery or whatever, and them kind of making her stick with them long term into doing more heists and whatnot. She's not really given choices in her life
Yeah.
for herself. And the kind of the starting scene and the driving force of this all is that she takes the choice to go and use her new powers to go and rob a bank and steal money. And that was like her choice. And we see
Yeah.
more of her background of having these ambitions of wanting to do things, of going to Japan and kind of travel there across the country there and stuff, but then just kind of got held down with it. You know,
Yeah, I'm definitely that's exactly how I feel.
one of my favorite things is just how well and maturely it kind of handles Satomi and Owen's relationship
Yeah.
and the like strained relationship. Because like in the of what we saw in issue 6, you know, and we said like he sucks, he's a bad person and stuff. And we
Mhm.
see more in this that he's not like a terrible person. Um
Yeah, and he's gone to like Gamanon trying to get better, and there's even at one point in one of the issues, the members are invited to bring family over, and he invites Satomi. So like he's definitely trying to improve, but like
yeah,
just
but
because you're trying to improve doesn't mean you automatically will or can, and he doesn't
yeah, and
initially.
it's more than that even, of like Satomi at the end kind of just choosing like we can't be together. This for a while we both kind of knew that this wasn't going to work, and now especially with all this stuff it's not going to work even if he did get like better. And
Yeah,
it's just
something
like
to. Oh, you got something to say? Some more?
it's just like a mature way to.
Yeah. Something that I like too is that like you know, um, Sheriff Chat understands the writer that you might not like Owen the most, so it doesn't try to go all in and like, oh well look, he can be all great. But something that I really like, something I think is really cool, is with the end of the book of Satomi deciding that her and Owen shouldn't be together. Um, is that she gives she turns in most of the money, but she gives a good portion of it to Owen and tells him to find Nathan, who she was part of the reason that he got into a big accident and put into a coma, and to find his family and give him that money. And then you see in Radiant Black that he gave Nathan $40,000, and that like it's good seeing that Owen was given tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And he at that point he had, you know, whether it was a constant in his life, we don't know because we haven't seen him since.
Oh, I
But still,
didn't
at
even
least
think
at
about
that moment, he had the self-control to really just give it, you know, seemingly all.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that with his gambling. How
Yeah.
that's sort of character growth for him.
Also, just the, you know, a quick silly thing just on the topic of the ending of the book is that when Satomi goes to turn herself in, she's got the cutest outfit. She looks gorgeous.
She looks like she's ready to go to France.
Yeah, and I'm here
She's
for
got, was it a beret? A baguette or something like that? A little funny French hat that they wear.
She's not wearing a hat.
I thought she was wearing a beret.
She has sunglasses on her forehead. She's got red
Call it
sunglasses, red scarf, black and white striped dress.
No,
Not
this
even a
is
dress, just a shirt.
this Mandela effect.
I think it's just you forgetting what she was wearing, but yeah.
Exactly, Mandela effect.
Yeah, okay.
Dang it. Well, she still got like that scar.
Yeah. No,
Something about
I
it's
definitely do
French.
get the French vibe. I get it too. I get it
The
too.
black and white.
Yeah.
She looks like she should be wearing a beret.
Yeah. I think that's what threw you off. Something that I also think is very, 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 very interesting with Radiant Red is her name. So Satomi Son, if I'm saying that right, um, it's got that like kind of, you know, like Stanley era like superhero alliteration. Satomi Son, SS. And even her as you know, her I don't want to say superhero version because she's not a hero, but you know, just her alter ego with powers. Radiant Red has the same alliteration too. And I think it's interesting when you look at the other characters because Radiant Black, no matter who it is, it's either Marshall Ward or Nathan Burnett, and then Radiant Yellow is Wendell George, and then Radiant Pink is Eva. I don't think we know her last name, but something I find interesting is that Radiant Black, both of them, Radiant Pink and Radiant Yellow are all more conventional superheroes, and Radiant Red, the only one who isn't a conventional superhero, is the one with the alliteration name. Yeah.
Do you think that was intentional?
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a thing to think about.
The reporter kind of, and along with Owen a bit, sort of challenge Satomi's sort of like newfound sort of confidence, or maybe like where she's at, if that makes sense. Like throughout it, mainly with the catalyst of her robbing the bank and like taking her choices into her own hands and like finding that new sense of power, especially with mirroring her actual superpowers with being able to absorb stuff and get all bigger and more powerful and strong. I guess I was trying to maybe form thought of like, because I was trying to think of like what is the reporter's necessary like narrative purpose or like thematic purpose outside of just being the thing to eventually set up her like revealing herself to be Radiant Red, which is like cool, and I like that they do that by the end. But like, especially putting so much into just the reporter themselves as a character, when like the scene at the start of the third issue, I think, where they're talking to their like editor or whatever.
It's issue 3, yeah.
You know, she comes off as a bit of a threat to Satomi, obviously, to a point of just like not threatening, but like being like, hey, I think you know who Radiant Red is, and I think it's also probably your husband. Her being challenged on like wanting to take her own Satomi, wanting to take her choices into her hand and not wanting that power to be taken away from her since she like kind of just got it. And like she does deserve to have at least somewhat of that power to make her own choices. And it seems like every surrounding character is threatening to almost take that away or challenge it, with the reporter, with Owen, and then like seemingly with Shift and the criminal people of like letting her take more power, but then they eventually try to take it away from her.
Yeah.
But then by like the end, she does, because she. Oh, hold on, I'm clicking. Because then by the end, she takes the power. She takes the. I don't know if power is right, but like she takes the initiative, kind of just like, lets herself do what she wants to do instead of letting other people choose what she gets to do. Of killing the criminal organization that are threatening to, kill people she loves if she doesn't stay and keep doing work for them. So she gets rid of them. Then she cuts off her. She like breaks up with Owen. Cuts that relationship off and lets herself choose to come out as Radiant Red to the reporter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the crime people decide that she stays working for them. It's not that Owen decides their financial situation and, her financial situation of like making her not being able to go up to get more education that she wanted, and not the reporter choosing to out her as Radiant Red,
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, she has all these things, going against her and what she will end up doing with, with these abilities that she has, and she just kind of says no. She pulls a Across the Spider-Verse miles. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing, and takes complete control of her narrative.
Yeah.
And even there's a scene with Alicia Castle, the reporter, after they show up at Satomi's house, in a great scene that reveals that Alicia thinks that Owen is Radiant Red,
Yeah.
which is just a fun little thing. It's even I really like that too, because, and I think that scene might even be right after the one where Owen's apologizing because he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm the reason you're doing all this," and she's like, "No, these are my own mistakes."
Yeah.
I like that a lot because Alicia Castle, pretty much just shows up and is like, "Hey." Not only is that what Owen thinks, that's what everyone else is going to think if you don't take control of your story.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. Also, we love us some Ben Urich. So you give me a queer Ben Urich, because they have a little bi wallet. You see that?
No, I mean they're very
They have the first time.
androgynous.
Yeah. First time you see them, they have a wallet with the bi flag on it.
Oh.
So at least in in sexuality they're queer. But yeah, they also are just they look it. But yeah, I love POC queer person. Love it. So it's like, I love Ben Urich to give me a journalist that is not just, a journalist and similar goals with Ben Urich that he initially has in Daredevil, of trying to reveal Daredevil's identity. Like not only just doing that, but also they're queer and a person of color. I'm in. I'm happy and I'm in.
Cool. They got cool glasses too.
Yep.
Green.
But yeah, I like that a lot. I am really appreciative of their inclusion, and I know some of it, maybe a lot of it, is just the Ben Urich fan in me, but it's also just because they, they do a great job with the character.
Yeah. But yeah, I hadn't thought of that connection with like why she sort of lashes out at Owen when he kind of breaks down. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at Owen's fist. Look at that. He looks like he
It's
got
almost
stung like 50 times by a bee.
yeah.
It looks great, but like, um, and I'm even thinking maybe the colorist is cooking here a bit in this scene with the argument of maybe she's taking a bit of a mindset or cues or thinking of shift in this conversation because she's wearing like
Oh.
some track pants with some green, lime
Yeah.
green
And even there's a shift
skyline.
scene right after on the next
Yeah,
page. You can see the
and
resemblance.
and the kind of like one page of her when she um like the
Yeah,
third
I know what
panel
you mean.
and it's
Yeah.
green up like the outline. That's
Yeah.
interesting. And I mean, like, I think this is like the best scene in the book. This argument
Mm-hmm.
or like kind of breakdown.
Yeah, it is just a real, it's a lot of, it's just this whole scene kind of just perfectly displays their relationship because it even starts off with Owen being like pretty good of just like,
Yeah,
being like, oh, listen, you didn't show up to my Gamanon meeting. It's okay. There's always another one next month. Maybe that'll work better. It's like, oh, okay, he's doing all right. But then, he kind of puts Satomi in his own shadow, and they go crazy.
yeah. And I'm even because then he like punches the wall with
Yeah.
just a bare fist, and then he's bleeding. And like even the last panel of that, and you see the blood on the wall of like maybe
Hmm.
representing since blood is red and it's radiant red
I was
of,
thinking that.
of
Yeah.
like the effect that's left. But also I'm not sure because it's like then that kind of put the idea of that this is radiant red's fault when it's
That. So
not.
what I before you fully said what you thinking, what I was thinking with the blood is that it it kind of just goes with what Owen, thinks is right and what the reporter's saying of like, oh, wow, wait, I'm trying to form the words, but just like the blood, it's like cartoonishly bright red, where
Yeah.
like that had to be a choice, where it's like it does seem like Owen is just making this all about him and kind of and just like and just kind of hinting to the earlier conversation of like people are gonna think this is all about him. Even like later in the final issue when Satomi is having that conversation with all the crime people, and they give her the options of like, hey, we'll either kill everyone you've ever known, or we frame Owen for being radiant red, and then once that's kind of settled with, you go under the radar and work for us. And like I think them offering her letting Owen take all the credit was like a real final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and like also maybe I'll have to double check here, but I think that the when he punches the wall and there's blood, and then when when the crime lady is threatening to kill Satomi's family and Owen, they have Owen there, and Shift has his sword against his throat, and there's a little blood. I think those are the only two
Uh-huh.
times we actually see blood in the comic,
Oh yeah.
and they're both Owen's blood. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe
Yeah, no, yeah,
there's more.
I definitely get that. And I think it's kind of what I'm trying to say of
Right.
like the blood kind of representing like
No, yeah.
Satomi being in Owen's shadow and like Owen potentially getting the credit for being radiant red when that was something Satomi chose to do and that's her mistake that like she is
Yeah.
owning.
Well, we do see blood from when she kills the other crime, like boss,
Okay.
like
I think
cough up
even that further proves
Yeah,
the thing where it's like, oh, now this is my thing.
yeah.
Oh my god, you know what I just thought of too?
Mm.
It's not, and it's not completely, but just look at like how her costume changes when she sucks up like all the chemicals.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost completely not red, and there's just that like there's that little segments of it where that even visually shows like she's losing autonomy of herself as Radiant Red,
Yeah.
which was which until working with Shift was the only thing that was really all hers, even if she was robbing banks. And
Yeah.
now she's lost herself with it, and as she gives them the chemical, she's getting rid of the control that they have over her, and she's getting back her normal costume.
Yeah. Oh, hold. Okay, this is actually where we've cracked the
Oh my
case.
god!
Because
Whoa!
look when Shift's at their house, and he's about to slice Owen, and Satomi grabs a sword, and then there's a sequential
Oh,
specifically showing that then there's blood from her hand from the sword.
oh
And
yeah,
that's very intentional because there's two silent panels, one big one of her like showing that she caught
grabbing
this,
it, yeah,
and then
and
another
then one of her bleeding,
smaller when she's bleeding. Like
yeah.
we're geniuses.
And even then, well, yeah, and then if you even continue to look, then she starts getting punched, but like, and she's bleeding a couple times, and even gets a full stab at, like just through her chest, and I don't know if that's all blood though. It looks more like energy based,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's definitely I think a ton of meaning with the blood, and even the blood surrounding like the weird shift puddle
Yeah.
in the last scene. Yeah, I think that's crazy. Damn, do I gotta make a video essay about Radiant Red and Blood? Honest, like a quick couple minute one, just about all we just said. You know,
Yeah, I'm trying to look if there's any more blood. There's okay. The first scene when she robs a bank, she slaps a guard. There's a tiny little splatter of blood coming out of their mouth.
okay.
But like the thing is, I don't think there's any scenes like you could think of a reason for most of them, but like I don't think there's any scenes with the blood where it isn't directly in effect with Satomi. You know?
Yeah,
And like you could interpret as a way of being like a choice, how that correlates. Mm.
definitely see that. And yeah, I mean, even just like, not, even though it's not red, I feel like it kind of fits into the allegories or whatever being displayed. Is like this whole heist is to steal a bunch of liquid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, maybe. Also, something just on the topic of the heist and blood. If you flip on over to like a fourth or a third of the way into issue 3, Satomi is doing the dishes.
Yeah.
And something I really like about that is like the whole heist is about her literally just being used as a sponge. And as she's
Yeah.
cleaning the dishes, she's doing a big sponge squeeze. And I know there's that in like the red, and it's obviously also just showing like her anger and kind of confusion with the whole situation. But I don't know. I think that's a real good metaphor for everything.
Yeah. Looking and and this might be a little more either picking really, really diving in, but I don't know. We can interpret art in the way we choose to interpret it.
Yeah.
And we see so the first issue I said the first scene she punches the guard and there's a little splatter of blood. And then the second issue when she fights off when she first goes to the warehouse and she fights off like the other guys, you know.
Mhm.
And again, there's more like splatters of blood, but in all these cases, they're all like just circles, like little dots of blood. Even in like a very head-on impact punch where you'd think there'd be a lot more blood, it's like there's
Yeah.
like 6 dots of
Yeah.
blood. And there's a very clear difference between like the streams of blood with the when punching the wall or when Owen's throat or Satomi catches the sword. Those are streams of blood, just dots.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation at least.
Yeah. Mine as well. We're cooking. This is comics analyzed books on our mind right here.
Kaboom! Also, I love the cover for the 3rd issue specifically. The one where she's like holding the pieces of like the rock with the height. Like, that's so cool looking.
Yeah, the little armless Lego knockoff. Yeah.
It's great.
Radiant Red is so good, dude.
Yeah.
Like, man.
I love, I mean, just not even like an analytical, just her powers are so cool. Like, just the absorbing thing. It's not like something too new or revolutionary. I really love when she's first like fighting Shift, like kind of fake fighting, like training in the 3rd issue, and she's like touching like this sort of steel bridge they're on in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And then she like elongates her fist.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Fantastic mode. So fun. And just like design wise, you can add so much to like making her fist and stuff bulkier and
Yeah. I love that. That's just a fun thing with, I guess, superhero comics in particular, which I've been thinking a lot as I read Stanley Jack Kirby Fantastic Four and looking at Mr. Fantastic, is like, I love it when you can tell that the artist is having fun with someone's superpowers, and it's it's like, oh, she could have just punched him, she could have thrown something at him, but no, she absorbs and then elongates, and it's cool too when she does like full absorption mode and unlocks like her alternate power modes and stuff. Very, very cool.
Yeah. And I mean, there's just like a bunch of things in the, not on that comic specifically, but a bunch of things just so dense in this comic with like the whole theme of choice and her independence. Like Shift is a major aspect of that as a character. Like he kind of like comes on to her, all creepy and stuff, and then especially just like the power, the powers themselves, the Radiant, like wasn't fully her choice necessarily, like in like the robot, and that's kind of for all of them, of like not fully a choice, but like also she did touch things, so I don't know, but I think there's also something there.
Also, just on the topic of her and the robot, there is also just a great conversation of her and Marshall.
Yeah,
that's great. And seeing Marshall just go from wanting to kill her and causing one of the coolest Radiant Black fights to just like having a nice talk with her and trying to help her sort all of this stuff out.
Yeah. Also, Tristan writes a good Marshall because
he's a little stupid.
She keeps up the theme that I love with Marshall of him like not understand, like just saying some phrases wrong.
Yeah.
Like he says, "Hope you like Enigma riddles." And so tell me, he's like, Enigma and riddles are synonyms.
Yeah.
So like, just get stuff wrong.
Yeah. He's a little stupid, but
just
we love
a little himbo.
Yeah. And I'm here to see it.
Yeah. Mouth training.
Man, I hate when I'm recording the video and you could hear like the spit moving in my mouth. I'm like, I have to do this again. I'm talking too clearly somehow.
And then this level of Daredevil.
Yeah, pretty much.
Moving on to Radiant Black. We got 12 issues of this. Last we left off, Nathan is okay. He's getting out of the hospital. Marshall, he's still got the radiant powers.
Nathan's also, last we saw of him was contacted by the robot.
Yep.
There. He just said hello, I think.
Yeah. Now these next 12 issues mainly focus on one main aspect is Nathan and Marshall's relationship with each other.
Yeah.
And the effects of it with the Radiant. And they sort of not resolve, but again, just do something extremely interesting, and I would have never guessed to see in a superhero comic or this comic like they did before of just having Nathan be the Radiant Black, and then suddenly Marshall's Radiant Black, is that they eventually both are Radiant Black. They share it, and they can like pass it back and forth.
Yeah, well, they have to pass it back and forth, which is the coolest part.
Yeah.
Especially, it's, the single panel where they both have half of it.
Yeah.
And they're both punching. That is the coolest thing. These 12 issues, and especially that, for me, was just one big of like when I you mentioned it last episode, but just thinking like, other not to put it down, but other than just for kind of like shock value, what more purpose is there to Nathan starting off as Radiant Black and then Marshall actually becoming the real Radiant Black? And it even like it works great in the story, and it has tons of interesting things, but like, is there more behind that? And then they turn it into just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, like it's fine. I don't even know if I said this in the last one, but like when I first was reading it, when I was first started reading Radiant Black, I was like, how do you make a brand new superhero comic and superhero, universe, not like super huge universe or super connected, but it's, universe, shared universe.
Yeah.
A modern one that's fresh and like can actually get me hooked on it and stuff. Like I assumed going into it, I thought maybe like, okay, it'll be a cool, like it's superheroes and cool, but it's mainly just, maybe grounded, just character stuff. And that's what it seemed like kind of at first. But then they actually took the superhero genre so far and did do something just completely creative and unique. And that's so like crazy to me to like, that's such like an undertaking to like start, it's like, it's really just like this and like Invincible in terms of like indie comic superhero universes, like new modern ones. I guess the boys too, but the the whole point of the boys that I can think of, and just to take that approach is like so like crazy.
It's crazy too, because it's like, even just to do what they did with the Massiveverse just fine, is already a crazy accomplishment. Like to
Yeah.
just have like a just a book that makes you go, that was cool. Is and well, Marvel and DC, especially Marvel with the movies, are just on top of superhero everything and
Yeah.
have been for tens of years, and like over half a century. To do that, and just just to be just fine would already be such an accomplishment. Or to do that and to just like just have it be so easily able to just jump on would also just be a crazy accomplishment in and of itself. But like to create your own superhero universe, while Marvel and DC comics are on top with superheroes and Marvel is on top with movies, and to not just make your own characters and make them all feel so distinct from each other, and to make it so easy to get into, but to also just like reinvent the superhero genre and just do things in comics that I've never seen before and never would have thought of and never thought were possible is insane. Like it's just layers and layers of like, oh my god, it's crazy that this is happening and so crazy that this has worked for as long as it
It's such a definitive modern like superhero comic. I was also kind of thinking before of like when I first started reading that what you'd maybe expect for a new superhero comic universe to do, like sort of Invincible and very much The Boys and stuff, of just like maybe satire, full on satire of
yeah.
superheroes in comics, or trying to flip the whole idea or challenge the whole idea of superheroes. But it doesn't really do that. It just kind of takes it into a new direction. Like
Not
a
only
forward
does it
new
do
direction.
that, but also Nathan and Marshall are nerds. They like comics. They even directly mention like the MCU sometimes.
Yeah, so it's like they'll make jokes about it, but it's not complete satire.
Yeah. Something else I love too is that like something I think about a lot with superhero media is why this hero, like especially Marvel and
Yeah.
it's New York. Why does Spider-Man have to fight the Green Goblin and stuff? And I think a wonderful thing is when writers have a reason for that specific hero to fight that specific villain, or just that specific hero to be there. And I
Like why
brought
they
up
have that
Spider-Man and Green
specific
Goblin as
power
something amazing.
too.
Yeah. So for every single Massiverse book, and especially just like with the Radiants, like each Radiant book had to be its own thing. You couldn't put Marshall or Nathan in the situation that Satomi's in with Radiant Red, because they can't do what she can. And it's great. And also just like to the characters, the powers are so essential, like with Eva being able to make portals, so now she can finally be everywhere because her big problem is like overworking herself. It's I love that, and it's great. And it's not something where it's like oh, this could have just been a Spider-Man story or something like that, because it couldn't be. It had to be Radiant Black, it had to be Radiant Red, it had to be Radiant Pink, it had to be those people. Something else I love too, just because we were briefly on the topic of it a little while ago with both Nathan and Marshall gaining access to the Radiant simultaneously, is that it kind of even like revitalizes Marshall's big fear that they tackle in issue 10 of like him feeling like he's never done anything really with his life, and then being kind of jealous of Nathan because he has all these things going for him, even if the reader or Nathan himself feels like they aren't really going that far. To Marshall, that's the world. And so now to not only kind of live in the even if it's not to others but just to yourself, live in the shadow of your best friend who's doing all these these great accomplishments, or at least trying to work towards these great accomplishments, but to have your friend with Radiant Black kind of fail at that, and then to be able to take that and make it your own thing and do it better, must feel just they they mention it, but just so freeing for Marshall. So then to now have Nathan like also able to access it, and they don't. This isn't some crazy analytical stuff I'm saying. Like, it's very clear Marshall does not like Nathan being able to talk to the robot. Nathan himself is aware of that, and is like, listen, I haven't even been answering the robot's calls, man. And it's just the one thing that Marshall really had in his life that ever really, really mattered is now also a thing that Nathan can do.
Yeah.
And like, not only is it that, they're both Radiant Black. No, they have to share it. They can't both simultaneously be Radiant Black at the exact same moment.
Yeah. It's like such a great way to portray this friendship and this relationship between these two people through just the lens of, who's got the superpowers, and like they even very much like parallel each other in their like sort of feelings of failure.
Yeah.
Because like Nathan very much feels and kind of did fail, or at least in a financial sense.
Yeah.
Failed to be a writer in LA. He didn't have the finances for it. He had to move back home. And he just kind of got writer's block as well. While Marshall just feels like failure because he just kind of hasn't, in his mind, done much in his adult life. We see he spends every morning eating a bowl of cereal, smoking weed, and making fun of middle schoolers as they walk to school and insulting them.
I mean, even watch it. They confirm the high schoolers, but it's because in an even more pathetic moment, Marshall goes to a high school basketball game and takes Nathan with him so he can count how many minutes the kids he doesn't like didn't play.
Yeah.
Like, he's pathetic, but I love him for it. But come on, Marshy.
I mean, like, then he does like he's like goes as Radiant Black for during halftime to like talk, to give some sort, but still like he just wants to find a way to insult the kid. I can respect the pushing through to do it, the dedication.
There we go.
To do it. But yeah. And
but yeah, it's great, and it's just that as a concept is so great. And it even with these batch of issues, especially the last arc of them, it even like goes to tie up some stuff that like from Nathan's original run as Radiant Black. Like he finds out that like Owen sent him $40,000, and then he goes to see Satomi, which is just wonderful.
Yeah. And then I mean, like, the main. I'm just jumping ahead a little bit, just with the most recent issue last that we will talk about of it is issue 24, and go into what happens for them. But basically, at the end, the kind of existence robot gives them a choice. They have to choose who is going to be the sole Radiant Black, because there can only be one, or else it's like broken.
Yeah, because their powers have been glitching out.
Yeah,
and it's just not working.
And so they give the readers the choice. There's a QR code on the last page that leads you to a website where you can vote for who you want to be Radiant Black, Nathan or Marshall. Me and Tristan have not told each other who we voted for.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have much reasoning. I have like a bit of a reasoning of who I chose. Do you want to go first?
Okay, so I'm not saying who yet, but I made my choice, and then I wasn't too sure because the book, it definitely, and Kyle Higgins does a great job with it, is that we've gotten all these issues of Marshall as Radiant Black, that the last couple right before the choice, they give you a lot of good Nathan stuff, so it's like, hey, this guy's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So it's I was feeling mixed because I was like, oh well, but Marshall's like the Radiant Black, but then they're really pushing Nathan in these issues, and that was something too that I even with issue 24, the and we'll probably get to it later, but the art is great, but also just there's that thing at the end, and that was one where after I had read it, I got it the day it came out, and after I read it, I immediately texted Shay and I was like, hey, when's the next time you're going to the comic store? You need to get Radiant Black number 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it weren't for the most of the motivation was just the great art, but even if it weren't for that, just like having the issue with the QR code,
Yeah. It's like
it's
the very just I was reading it about in like 1 a.m. just like, why is it? Oh.
yeah. Yeah, so it's just but a funny thing about that was I had sent it to, I'd sent that message to Shay, and you waited for your birthday, which was a couple of weeks after I had read that issue, to get to get everything and read it. And I remember being paranoid that like you wouldn't answer it in time.
Yeah.
But then that made me realize that like I actually hadn't answered it either. So then
I got 3 days. I had
Okay.
3 days.
I think I got it with 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, luckily though, the Radiant Black Twitter was constantly tweeting like, you have this
Yeah.
many days left. So
Good thing
they
I'm
were
not on Twitter anymore.
Yeah. But okay, are we ready?
You go first.
Are we okay?
I still have my reasoning to say.
Yeah, we'll do name and then reasoning.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went with Marshall.
I went with Nathan.
Okay.
You go ahead. You go first.
So I have a lot because I saw a really good Twitter thread about it.
Oh, okay.
So you can go first.
Okay. Well, mainly first off, like, I have complete trust in Kyle Higgins and the whole creative team to do good stuff for whoever is picked. Like,
Yeah.
I know they'll do a great job either way. My kind of thought behind it was mainly how, assuming there's a whole thing of Nathan being like, I think I might want to actually go back to LA and try again with the writing and being in LA. And Marshall's like kind of sad about that. But Nathan also is like, I don't necessarily trust you with the radio,
Yeah,
because they
because he
have
has
to
been
tell.
getting more violent recently.
Yeah, and they have to like tell the complete truth in existence. There's only truth
Yeah.
in existence. And so in my mind, I like, as a character, Marshall is obviously just like more fun and funny. He's like the more funny guy. Nathan's still a great character. I love them both pretty equally. I think they're both great characters.
Yeah.
But the stuff with there's one issue that's just Nathan in LA, and I like that issue, but I think there could. I know, I'm not sure what they would do with it, but I feel like that stuff could be better, and I think that just him having the Radiant could enhance that stuff, while Marshall still being in Chicago with the other Radiants around, with Yellow and Red still being around, though Red's in prison now, and Pink being around. Pink can be anywhere, I guess. That he'll still be able to have those superhero interactions.
Hmm.
And you can kind of say same for either one, but I don't know. I thought like Nathan kind of needs a little more to keep me personally like interested in his stuff, and so if he has the Radiant, maybe that could be interesting. I'd be fine with either or,
Okay.
but I vote for Nathan.
So, and definitely just to agree with you with it, because even I picked, I initially voted Marshall, and before I saw the Twitter thread that I'll get to, I was like, oh, but what about Nathan? Because at first I was thinking, I was like, oh, well, it seems like they really want you to pick Nathan, but I think that's just the last couple issues spending a lot of time with him, especially that full issue going on Nathan. It's just because, they've given us over
So
a dozen
much
issues
Marshall.
of Marshall. And that's all, and also just a reason for Nathan is like we've seen Marshall as Radiant Black for a while, so it's like, no, we could try this guy. But then a Twitter thread made me confident with my Marshall choice, and that's a Twitter thread by someone on comic Twitter that I love the tweets of. Cassie Comics. So not K, C A, the first letter, CASSIE, COMICS. Just Cassie Comics. JK element. Oh. But yeah, CASSIECOMICS. Cassie Comics, all one word. That's her at on Twitter.
Can you send that? So I can see.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it right now or just afterwards?
Right now, if you could, so I can kind of read along.
Do you want me to just say it like while you look at it? Or...
Yeah.
Okay. So Cass's reason for picking Marshall, is it's from a narrative and just kind of literal view both ways. It's that there's more of a reason to give Marshall something to do.
Yeah.
Because Nathan has all these things going for him, and Marshall has finally gotten something. And his arc, it's not done as Radiant Black, and the only real reason he has an arc is to be Radiant Black. And before, and I get it's kind of just because you had to set up a bit of a twist, but before that, Marshall really before Marshall was Radiant Black, he really was just comedic relief. And while I'm sure they do more with that now, and I don't know what it would be that would fill the void of him being Radiant Black, but maybe he could. But like Radiant Black really does feel like the thing that he is, like, that's going to give him something to do and to grow and change as a person. Because Nathan's like, he's pretty set. Marshall, we said before, he's a pathetic little himbo.
Yeah.
And I think this is the real pusher for him to grow as a person and as a character. And also just, like you said, which I agree, is that, the Nathan LA stuff would be more interesting to read, if he had full Radiant. But I also feel that, like, if it's either, like, I think that was, I think he still has enough going for him as a character where it's not really a loss if he no longer has access to the Radiant. Whereas with Marshall, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bigger loss for him, just like emotionally and like interestingness wise, if he loses it.
Yeah, and honestly, I would even say like they could even, if Nathan is picked, I could see them kind of using it like Marshall being able to know, like, oh, I don't have the power now, but I understand how I can be like just more like how I can be more just like a protective, better person without the power. But that also would probably like he needs a little more time. We haven't seen that full like realization of it quite yet. So like I think that makes sense. But either way, even though we have difference of opinions, I can still somewhat respect you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Good talk, because we both gave our reasons, and then also both gave the reasons that we do agree with the other person. But yeah, and then also it's also great too, because at the that they're really giving this time, because also Kyle Higgins, I think on Twitter I saw he confirmed that he's written like 2 versions of like the future stuff and like what's to come.
Yeah.
And like he's done like 2 pitches. And they even rating that issue, Radiant Black issue 24 was the issue from May, the month of May. And they there's not a June issue, and then it's going to be back in July. And I don't remember. They say some reason, but it's like not true. Like they're just like, we need some time to work on stuff. I don't know, but it's very obviously just like they need to sort out through the choice and everything. But also, Supermassive came out in June, so it's like that has Radiant Black, and we'll get to that in our next episode. But yeah, but he's still in there, so they have plenty of reasons just to hold off for this month with Radiant Black.
Yeah.
But
in any other comic, in a lot of other comics, something like this, the giving person choice, the people choice of where to take these characters, would seem sort of gimmicky. But here it works, one, just because I love Radiant Black and Kyle Higgins and the whole Supermassive team, and
yeah,
I'll give them praise whenever I can. 2, they've already shown them push the boundaries of the medium of taking multimedia approaches, because we'll talk about in the 14th issue. There's a whole thing about like
I think it's 15.
15. These people are making these like YouTube people or whatever who make these short films, which Kyle Higgins has a background in. And they're making like a Radiant Black short film. It's very meta, because then they use a character from Cowl, which in the Radiant Black universe is a real like movie, whatever. In our universe, it was a short film by Kyle Higgins that he then adapted to Cowl into the comic Cowl in like 2014. And then they actually made a real animated short for it that's really amazingly animated. Has Will Friedle, is that his name?
Friedel or Friedel, one of those probably.
Voices Radiant Black, who is Batman Beyond, and also Eric Matthews in Boy Meets World, which I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, Batman Beyond, that's cool. That's that's kind of the voice I was doing in my head, from Marshall. But I was like, wait, that Eric. Eric, I had a crush on this guy when I was 9.
I didn't even. I've never watched Batman Beyond. I know what it is. I never watched, but I watched plenty of Boy Meets World, and so that's so like the older brother in Boy Meets World is Batman Beyond.
Yeah. I watched. I don't know how much, but I watched Batman Beyond growing up, and then Boy Meets World, for a little bit. So yeah, that was a surprise. It's like canonically him.
Yeah.
Like they mention that it's Will.
Yeah. Crush on Eric Matthews.
Can you blame me? Look at him. Look. I got pictures on my phone. Don't worry.
Oh.
Here you go.
I mean, when he's like the Squirrel Master at the end of the series, he's pretty.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah,
Look at him.
Yeah, yeah. But when he's like the Squirrel Master at the end of the series? You remember that to that point?
I don't. I know when he was like in college, but no, I mean specifically like kind
Yeah,
of pre-college Eric with that
yeah.
nice long hair. Beautiful man.
At the end of the show, he becomes like a master of squirrels or something. I don't Yeah. Uh. yeah. What are we even talking about? Oh yeah.
Yeah, why did we start talking? Crush on Eric Matthews.
The multimedia approach.
Multimedia.
They've already broached. Right. And so it's not like a surprise or like what are they doing? I don't understand. But also
Yeah.
just I don't know, like it's kind of like them flexing their like storytelling abilities because they've
Mhm.
already been doing that one by just writing incredible stuff and to just going crazy ham those multimedia stuff and like the crazy like issues in the existence realm and stuff and all these things. So it's like I at least already just had trust in them as well.
Yeah.
Just go
Yeah,
ham.
after all we've been through with these, before issue 24, these 23 issues of Radiant Black and all the other Supermassive stuff, I would never once consider that Kyle Higgins is just doing this for a gimmick. Like, there
Yeah.
has to be a reason, there has to be, a path that
Yeah.
is willing to go either way. I also, this is a fun thing, because and especially for you, but like I don't interact with the Radiant Black or Supermass Universe fan base. I don't know what people are picking. So I'm, like I saw like on the tweet, I saw a lot of people saying Marshall, but then I've also seen other people refer to Nathan as the popular pick. So I don't know. I've experienced both being the popular pick, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also cool because like I feel like every like 10 or so issues of Radiant Black, they have a cool thing where it's like, oh, this is the book's big thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you get to issue 4 and it's like, oh, the Radiant Black isn't Nathan, it's his best friend Marshall who's now the main character. And then you get to issue 15 and you're like, this isn't as big of a, boundary breaking thing, I guess, in some ways, but it's also infinitely crazier in others. Is it's like, oh, they made a 5-minute animated short. Like this is a cool, crazy big thing. And then you get to 24 and it's like, oh, they're full on just telling me to decide what happens in the book I'm reading. And it's great. It's just, even like with something like this, like I said, which I would never expect from Kyle Higgins, is like, something like this could just be done for a cheap gimmick. I guess there's no way for us to really find out what people picked unless you just observe really carefully what everyone was deciding. Or some, it's just, and I don't know what I was saying. Just that like it's not something like that, and it's also it doesn't feel like Kyle Higgins is going, I don't know what to do, I'll let you guys decide, because like they've so easily eased you they've so slowly eased you into the world of Radiant Black in and of itself, like, but also just Radiant Black and how it connects to the real world, where it's you flip to that splash page of saying you must decide with the robot and the big QR code that you cannot miss, and it's surprising, it's a twist, it's a turn, it's not something I ever would have expected coming, but at the same time it's Radiant Black, it's the most Radiant Black supermassive massive verse thing ever, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's surprising and I never would have guessed it, but it makes complete sense.
But yeah. Really cool. Always doing the crazy creative, unique stuff. These
Yeah.
folks. Yeah, the first couple issues before they both get their powers is kind of Marshall and Nathan having these conversations with each other about like Nathan being a bit worried with Marshall and Marshall being a bit jealous that Nathan's talked to the robot.
Yeah. Or
We
even that the
also
robot's trying to talk to him,
yeah,
like, at all. Because also,
Or
the
that-
robot's not contacting Marshall at all.
yeah. Or that the and then there's like a sort of plan, not like a heist, but something being planned by these multiple crime people, kind of spearheaded by Shift. There's this crypto bro, like NFT dude.
I love him
villain.
because I hate him and he's pathetic. He's literally
They do.
he's a Sigma male. Like he
Yeah.
mentions that he's a
He
Sigma
says
male. Yeah. Which is just
they do such a great
Yeah.
job of making him seem like the douchiest, just
yeah, he's calling everyone baby.
like a crypto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, was Marshall like literally says, yeah, Nathan's like, what is it?
Oh,
Is this
yeah.
person dead? And he's like, no, we're crypto bros.
Yeah.
And it shows an NFT pre-sale on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Also with
And then we also
with them. Oh, well, you can continue.
just also with the there's also what's her name? The lady
Doppler.
Doppler is like kind of in it.
She's what I was gonna
too.
bring up. She
Yeah.
is my favorite.
Yeah.
She's the coolest.
Yeah.
I think she's wonderful. Because it's just like, it's also like, something with the Massiverse. This is just so greatly shows just like why someone would want to use some powers that they stumbled upon for what could generally be perceived as evil. Robbing a bank is bad, but trying to fix your life and not not lose all your money, that's good. So when you see Radiant Red robbing a bank to do that, and you're like, oh, okay. And with Doppler, she just her whole thing with trying to fight the condition she has, and she needs the power in her suit to do so, is phenomenal. Especially, in issue 15 when she shows up on the movie set, and Marshall just not being happy recently, especially with the fact that people are making a fan film about him. He just, he goes off on her and starts a fight with her, and he's like, "I told you to quit. Why are you doing this?" And she's full on like, "I did quit. I was only here to get a power charge from you so I can keep doing what I love," which is but she like teaches inmates like music, right?
Yeah, which is like the most noble great thing to do.
Yeah, he tells her to do better and she does.
Yeah, like she's doing a lot more than you, Mark.
Yeah, and she knows it, and he knows it, even if he's refusing it. And she questions why he even is a hero, and he doesn't know himself.
Yeah, and that's a big aspect with the like bad guys like Shift into them, is that they are kind of powered by the radiance, so they kind of have to like be near them to like charge their stuff essentially.
Every once in a while.
So that's just like an interesting aspect, like kind of interesting way to go about the villains of
it's great too, because it's like that's like an endless reason for just like the characters to meet. It's like Shift doesn't, or Shift or Doppler or Excel or Crypto Boy don't have to be doing they don't have to be committing a crime to get the attention of Radiant Black. They could just be trying to get the attention of Radiant Black so they can charge their suits, and you've got the reason for meeting them right there.
Yeah.
So something I love too with when that whole group decides to attack Marshall, and his pathetic self is at the basketball game in the high school. He's they attack him and they win. They beat him up and he loses the fight. But then that's the moment when Nathan gets the radiant and starts using it to save him. And then while all the bad guys are distracted fighting Nathan, Doppler just pulls Marshall out of there, which is it's wonderful. And then he brings up again. He's like, "You asked me why I'm a hero." Listen, what I still don't really know, but what point is there in being a hero if you can't protect the people you love? And he goes back to help Nathan, even though he doesn't even have the radiant right now. And then in a great moment with Yellow and Radiant Yellow and Doppler, that he's just like, "Hey, listen, I know you're gonna do the right thing." And her, with her musical powers with the church bell, sends off a big loud ding, and that throws all the bad guys off. And she's great. She's wonderful, and I love her.
Yeah. I guess sort of segueing from there with Radiant Yellow. For me, Radiant Yellow is by far my favorite character in any of these books. By far, he is, and I love most of these characters a lot. But Radiant Yellow,
other than the Crypto Bro.
Yeah.
Wendell George, what a man.
And the podcast guys too. Those are my favorite. But yeah, Radiant Yellow, already from just a little we got of him in issue 7 and 8. Those ones with the team up of all the Radiants. He just seemed like a cool, sort of calm, collected, and we see even more in the 12th issue, the Radiant Pink kind of origin of him just being a cool, chill, older 60-year-old or so guy that that just seems very chill, very sort of, he's one of those sort of comfort characters, immediate comfort characters where you just feel you feel safe when you see him on the screen. Ben Urich. What's his name? The dad vampire in Twilight. Yeah, he's the best. Wait, what's his name?
I've never seen Twilight.
He's great. Dad in Twilight. Oh, not the human dad in Twilight's right. The Carlisle. That's it.
Okay.
Carlisle in Twilight is the best. He's just he's he's been a vampire for a long time. He knows his stuff. He's one of the very few that doesn't go all crazy if there's blood around. So he's if there's blood around, he can control the situation. He's just he knows what he's doing. He's respectful to everyone. He's just the best father figure. He's awesome. I love him. So yeah, Carlisle, Ben Urich, Obi-Wan. I don't know. There's a lot of them. Iroh for sure. Tenzin and Korra.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But yeah, so he's just great in that regard of what we originally saw him. And then in these issues, in issues 16 and 17, we see him back in to help Marshall and Nathan against the guys shift and Crypto Bros and all, because he can see the future, essentially, sort of.
Yeah.
He kind of explains it more of like
Yeah,
the way
it's
he
like
sees the
feeling.
future
Yeah,
in
it's
a
like a word
really
on the tip of
good
your
way.
tongue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of
Yeah, if you want
say
to go word for word, I'm happy to hear
because
some Wendell speak.
it's like such a interesting way that to do it. Here, let me find it. So it's just it's not 16 actually, it's 17. Uh, he pulls up in a car to because Nathan's at the school being attacked, or Marshall's at the school being attacked. Nathan's still just back at the house smoking weed, and then he sees an explosion,
My bad.
and then Wendell pulls up and is like, get in. And he basically explains things like, so the future, and goes, we all do a little. The ice caps are melting. Christmas comes one year, one out of every two marriages, and it's patterns and probability. I just see my potential results and paths clearer, like memory, but backwards, kind of. The big things, war, death, pandemics, I'm not sure if they can be changed. Too complicated, too many variables. But there's these blurry spots. It's like when you have a word on the tip of your tongue, but it's a word you haven't learned yet. These moments, anything seems possible, anything seems changeable, blurry, which is such a cool way for like a character that can see the future. Because like you can't, it's hard to have a character that can just, especially in this universe when there's not like some crazy, super powerful, godlike superheroes like in Marvel, to just have a guy that can fully see the future. So then it's just like he can basically see paths, sort of, and the patterns and probabilities of the future more clear, but he doesn't quite know which path is the future will take. And I don't know. It's a great way to show it and to not have like a complete like we see kind of at the end is that he sort of planned so that Marshall would die, not in a
Yeah.
malicious way, but just because he thought he saw that that was the only way that a coming war wouldn't happen from these space robots. um, so he's like, he doesn't fully know. He just like thinks he's able to like, there's chances. And along with that, there's just great ways to show him just being just so creative with stuff. Where like as he's driving and explaining it, he has like a bag with a whoopee cushion and a hammer because he knows exactly the way that he needs to kind of fix the situation. And right as Nathan leaves with he kind of talks to the robot again, and the robot gives Nathan the radiant. So he leaves with the radiant, and we see him leave, and then Marshall has like, or not Marshall, Wendell has this crazy like head going crazy, seeing the future thing. He gets back in his car and like drives it like 3 feet more forward, and then gets back out of the car. I was like, okay, why? And then after there's a big fight, then this big enemy robot falls. We see a shot of just the car again, and it hits the car. He had to park it right there so that he'd hit the car, and the robot dude would take a minute to recover because he exploded on a car. And then we see he gives the hammer Doppler to hit the bell to, and then a whoopee cushion that Shift would step on before he was about to try to stab Nathan or Marshall, whoever in the back. Nathan. So then he could hear it, which is just such a fun way to do that, and I love it. And so like that's like super cool, and you love to see that. And then it's like, oh no, there's gonna be a war because Marshall's still alive. And then issue 18, just like how issue 6 was Radiant Red's origin issue, Radiant Pink, issue was Radiant Pink's origin issue 18 is Radiant Yellow's origin issue. And like I already said that Radiant Yellow is easily my favorite character. This issue is easily my favorite single issue. And issue 10 of Radiant Black is absolutely incredible. But this is so good. This issue is very in so many ways.
This blew my mind.
Yeah. The kind of structure to it is it's all except for the first page. It's all
which kind of sets you up.
Yeah. It's all 2-page spreads. Oh, and the last page is also 1 page. But it's all 2-page spreads, mostly aligned in a way that it's 3 or 4 different kind of rows, each resembling a specific time in Wendell's life, being in 1984 in the top row, 2002, the row below that, 2020 in the row below that, and then the future 2038. And the bottom one, the future one, is even like borderless with the art. It's like straight on the page. And it essentially just shows you his life with bits and pieces of a time, in such a beautifully, tragically, depressingly soul-crushing way. I love comics are a lot, any medium can do this, but I think comics are able to pull something like this in this sort of non-linear storytelling way. And very effectively. I think comics are able to do that in a very specific and effective way more than most other mediums. I said I've been reading Hawkeye, and that's kind of known a lot for that, for doing like non-linear stories. And this is that in just showing us these pieces of time.
This issue, it blew my mind. It's like you look at any of the pages of the panels of Wendell when he's doing all this like head jumping around stuff to see the different timelines, and you're like, oh, this is what he sees. And it is the coolest possible way to show you it. And it even something that's great about it too is that like it when he mentions that like he can see, like he sees the future and it feels like a word on the tip of the tongue that he doesn't know yet. You even get that impression because the 3 versions of the past they have the nice defined borders, but then the last one, like you mentioned, Shay, doesn't have the borders, and that gives you the feeling of like the word on the tip of your tongue, and you don't know like where it starts or where it begins, and it's the letters are overlapping because you don't know when the art starts or begins, and the artwork is overlapping.
And the essentially like kind of sort of synopsis is like we see of how he had a wife for in 1984 at top row. He had a wife, and they moved to was it Gary, Indiana?
Don't remember.
moved somewhere new because Wendell got a new like factory job. And while in 2002 we see he now has a teenage daughter that neither him or his wife have a great relationship, and him and his wife also don't have a relationship. 2020 we see kind of where we sort of know now, just no wife, no kid, kind of depressed, works at Best Buy. In 2038 we see some post-apocalyptic crazy future where it's,
potential future.
Yeah, potential future. And basically guides us through like, showing how the top row of the past being like how they started to wave in like machinery, like robotics, to essentially take some of the factory workers' jobs that he himself kind of implemented and had to like eventually sadly like fire his own like coworkers and friends, and how that sort of even strained his relationship with his wife. And then in like the second row of showing, that or the strain and just this sort of unstable, unhappy family. Third row showing the aftermath, having no family really. Well, he still does. We see a fairly happy thing of like he FaceTimes his daughter who now has a child of their own, and like is still and is like currently on seemingly good terms,
That's nice.
a grandpa and stuff, and it's not all bad, but just the way they show the storytelling, especially going from like the happy, maybe my favorite page is the ones where it's showing right when the daughter was born, and being like all happy, and then showing when she's a teenager and having a conversation with her about like loving her because they got in like a fight just the past scene because he got her the same like like elephant stuffed animal for like 18th birthday, and she was like, "What's this? It's dumb." And then in the 2021 of like being on FaceTime with them and his granddaughter having the like baby elephant stuffed animal, like just showing this like happiness that turns real sad and then turns kind of happy again. And then we also see the future where he's like, we don't really know what's going on, but like he's kind of interacting with this yellow robot, like the other Radiance robots.
I like too that we even we see throughout it like him implementing the robots and then having to fire people and then being real mad, and then the future just catching up with the people he fired, and it's like it's water under the bridge.
Yeah, and then by the end of the possible future, it's like post-apocalyptic, and those robotics are now like possibly the fault of this, like why the world is like this in the future, possibly. Like, I don't know, there's too much to say. The art is perfect. It's Stefano Simeon is the artist, and it's just so good. Just read it, please.
Yeah, you shouldn't even be watching this without having even read it. But still, if you are here, go read it. Go read Radiant Black. Radiant, all of them.
Oh, stop! Get out of here. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else like to say. There's just too much.
Yeah,
like
it's beautiful and it can't be put into words, and it's it's one of the most visually compelling storytelling things I've ever seen, and it's
Yeah.
executed so perfectly, and there's such just synergy in the aim of storytelling between both writer and artist. And this is one of those things where it's like, the artist of a comic isn't just the guy drawing the story. It's you know uh, it's you someone asks you what a comic is, you think of the pictures, because that is a huge part of the story, and it just
Yeah.
it goes crazy here. Like,
Yeah.
just like the art in comics, and like I think like the coloring and layouts of comics are the equivalent of like music and like animation or movies and stuff. About how, like,
Mhm.
sometimes it's like pretty average. You get like a nice, cool action movie soundtrack or something, but then you get something like this, and it's like crazy and insane, and it's like this this needed to be a comic,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful.
Yeah. I love any comic and any art that takes their medium to full advantage and shows like why it's so special,
Yeah.
like, and what it can do. He sees at the end of that, there's gonna be some coming threat. Essentially these giant space robots that we caught a glimpse of back in issue 7, when
Yeah.
Eva and Marshall like portal accidentally into deep outer space and see those uh space robots, and they're coming down to cause some destruction. Uh-oh.
Yeah, and then he finds his own robot the same way that like Radiant Black has his and stuff, and just has a talk with him, just saying it can't end like this. And it's
Yeah.
yeesh.
Kind of already said our thoughts on a lot of stuff when it comes to Marshall and Nathan now sharing the Radiant in
Yeah.
these next issues. There's a lot of great moments in it, like their fight in this one. Marshall and Nathan and Eva takes a portal to Satomi's prison cell to break her out
Mhm.
briefly to help fight, and she goes back to prison, which I really like. And there's also the issue 22, which is like just showing Nathan taking a quick trip to LA. That kind of goes a little deeper into his time there in LA and kind of what was going on with him. Um, it, I don't know if I have any thoughts about that. It's pretty straightforward. It's a good issue.
Yeah.
Um, of just like this one dude kind of screwing him over.
Jacking
And
all his ideas.
I wonder, the guy in LA that is doing that, if Nathan almost is sort of worried about Marshall keeping the Radiant. Sort of. I think it's definitely like a parallel of a caution with control for Nathan, because
Mhm.
he got his stuff kind of stolen or used by that other guy. So like, if Marshall keeps or takes the Radiant, then like, that's kind of the core of why Marshall's scared of that. Like, one, just because of way seeing how Marshall's been more violent, and two, just because like he doesn't want to be hurt like that again.
You turned into Elon Musk for a second there
Yeah.
with your voice.
I got a little half burp going. I like a lot in issue 21 when Nathan and Marshall go to see Shift at this diner and then eventually break out into a fight. And Shift just kind of represents like sort of like the military industrial complex and like scummy, like mostly like rich billionaire people profiting off of war because they're basically using this alien space robot technology to their own advantage. And even like the idea of like, it's very obvious when he's like mentions like, oh well, I'm using this to protect me and other people for when the war comes. And it's like, well, you're making the war happen, so why don't you just prevent the war? Which is that's the U.S. military industrial complex to a T. So, that's a fun little representation of that.
Did you probably not, because I don't even know why I know this, but did you notice that the cover for number 14 is a reference to a cover of Incredible Hulk with Wolverine?
Oh, makes sense. Oh yeah, I think I recognize that one because with the blades.
Yep. They recreate it in like the animated Hulk versus movie. He fights Wolverine in that, and they recreate it, which is cool.
Yeah. And it's a really fun fight scene with Nathan and Marshall sharing the Radiant fight Shift because Shift keeps trying to just go for the one that doesn't.
Yeah, so you just keep throwing it
Radiant.
back and forth and eventually get him.
Yeah.
Silly. I like to they don't spend too long. It's literally quite just about an arc's worth of issues where they're throwing it back and forth. But Kyle Higgins spends that time wisely and just kind of does everything you could with that idea.
Yeah.
And even there's like the Circle Guy news. They're trying to, they're talking to Radiant Black, and they're like, "We know who you are, Marshall." But it turns out that it's Nathan as Radiant Black right now, and Marshall walks by in the background, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And there's great little moments, and it's it doesn't last too long in the grand scheme of things, but they do everything they could have done. I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, I also love when one of the robots comes down and attacks Wendell and Nathan and Martha at their house, and one of them like hits the dog.
Oh yeah, that got me scared.
Just yeah, and Marshall's like, "Give me the Radiant right now," because he's just fear. I mean, I would too, and he just goes Super Saiyan mode, protects the dog. I get.
Bro. Huh?
You know,
No, you can.
it's just I'm especially sure because I was reading this. I think whilst I was reading Immortal Iron Fist, and it was already confusing in that book with some of the names because there's Wendell Rand and Orson Randall, and there's Wendell and Orson here. Orson the dog. So that was tricky for me, but I figured it out.
I also, just speaking of Wendell, it's almost like the way Kyle Higgins uses like anxiety with him too is just amazing, because there's that initial moment where he's like, if he realizes Marshall is alive when he was supposed to die, and in order to stop the war, and he's like, "Oh God, we're all gonna die." And another moment that makes me feel genuine fear, but I also love, is when he's sitting in his chair, just seeing every possible future, and then he has like his little red yarn board, and every single thing leads to war. That's a great moment.
Yeah, like it's just Wendell's just such a cool character.
Yeah. And how even like this whole time up until these recent issues, he's kind of been like the cool, like knows what he's doing, cool old guy, and then we get to see some more of him in his personal life, and it's like, oh no, he's anxiety ridden, he's terrified, but he never shows it in front of the others.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, I hope he's got a good therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope they do.
Oh my
Radiant
god, I
Yellow.
had therapy today and I missed it! Oh no! Oh no! 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 Oh no.
I wasn't sure if you're like doing a bit as Wendell or something.
No. Oh man. Oh man, this is a. Yeesh.
Hey, what would you rather? That memory of the one time you missed therapy while recording podcasts and crazy, or just one random little therapy session?
Imagine this was the therapy session where I fix all my problems, and I missed it. It was, yeah, it was destined, and then, wah wah.
Man, canon event.
Yeah.
Yeah, issue 24 is pretty. It's pretty again.
Yeah.
It's darn pretty. It's I mean, issue 10 is like just the surprise of it, and just like more the narrative purpose of it. Like issue 10's like more impactful, but like this issue, I mean, like this, it's still obviously like crazy.
Yeah. It's issue 10 times 10.
Yeah.
It's the art. It's phenomenal here. It's a beauty.
Bananas.
the minion in you. Yeah, Igor Monty has been will always be the GOAT.
Them telling each other the truth, with Nathan being like, "Hey, I think I want to be back to LA, and I don't want you to have the Radiant because I'm kind of scared of you."
Yeah.
Little. It's up to us to decide.
And it's too late for you guys, but
yeah,
hopefully you did it. Okay, I guess. Issue 24, just beautiful, just wonderful, 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 and I'm so happy that I have this. It's cool too because they have like for the existence issues for number 10 and this one, number 24, they do like blacklight versions where the colors like glow. Cool, so cool.
It's crazy.
Moral of the story: keep your calendar up to date.
Set an alarm.
Yeah. Just
both for Radiant. Set your calendars and alarm for July 17th or something like that for Radiant Black 5, and for your therapies appointments.
Yeah. Your comic book pull lists are important, knowing what you're gonna pick up. It's also good to keep track of when your therapy is and when you're gonna let it all out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. See you guys soon.
Jiffy.
Yeah. After in next episode, we'll be talking about the rest of the Massiverse titles alongside 2023's issue of Supermassive. So
We
if
got
you're on
12 issues
YouTube,
of
make
Rogue
sure.
Squadron.
Yep.
Boom. 6 issues Dead Lucky. Boom.
Boom.
Kaboom.
Oh.
Three issues of No One. Kaboom. And
3 double-sized issues of Inferno Girl Red.
yes, a boom. And
Boom.
and the Supermassive 2023 one shot. Kaboom.
Mm-hmm. We'll see you there. Bye.